The Finance Subcommittee of the City Council is comprised of 5 council members and considers any or all questions appropriate for the purpose of considering the budget, including the creation of new positions to the payroll, changes to the employee classification plan, or any matters pertaining to increasing the City of Framingham employee headcount. The following City Council Finance Subcommittee meeting coverage is brought to you by the Government Channel, a service of the City of Framingham.
Council Finance Subcommittee will come to order. This is our revised version 2 of July 14, 2026, July 14, 2026 at 5 p.m. First order of business is public participation. Is there anybody that would like to publicly participate on any item that is not on our agenda this evening? If so, please raise your hands. Seeing none, we'll go to Zoom land and just make sure. Oh, nobody. Okay, on that. Thank you. Nobody on Zoom land either. Okay. Minutes. Can I get a motion to approve June 4th, 2026, June 9th, 2026 as presented?
Second.
Got a motion by Stefanini. I got a second by Councilor Cannon. We're all in the room.
To Mike.
Everybody, please raise your hands if you're in favor. 5-0. Very nice when we're all here. See? Action items and discussion. Order number 2026-064. Upon the request of the Buckley and a direct referral to the Finance Subcommittee by the Council Chair, consideration of affordable housing rents and incomes. The Buckley proposed new rents 2026.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilor Stefanini.
given the time for this has lapsed, I would just suggest we do what we did with everything else and take no action.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that, or we're just going to take no action?
Unless there's a disagreement, I don't think you need a motion.
Everybody okay with that? Councilor King?
Yes, I'm okay with it because of, as stated, the time has lapsed. However, I'm still not clear what our role is, what the mayor's role is. I'm not sure that's been resolved. So I would like to get that resolved. So in the future, if in fact we are responsible for this, we're doing our job and not, this time of year we have these issues. And I was aware of it, but it didn't make a lot of sense given the fact we treated the other people that way to treat this one differently. So I knew it was going to be past the day tonight. But I do think that we should get, we need to get that nailed down. I'm not sure why that's difficult to find out.
I would agree.
And we've asked the city solicitor,
Right,
and I forwarded all that information we got from Mr. McDowell, and I had Marion share it with the whole committee. So we'll follow up with the city solicitor on that. Ms. Kelly?
Maybe Anthony can take that up in his
We can add that to your list of to-dos. Lucky you.
follow up with her and see if we can get a clear explanation as to our role.
Yeah, what we're supposed to do, what the mayor's supposed to do, and if it's just a pass-through. Thank you. Leora, you had your hand up. Did you want to say something? All good? Okay. Order 2026-072, background added. Upon the request of the Director of Community Development and Planning, a referral to the Finance Subcommittee, the FY 2027 Community Development Block Grant Committee, CDBG, and Home Allocation Presentation. Mr. Sarkisian, you and your team want to sit up there? Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here with Nate, and he is going to go through the presentation.
Thank you, and we have Steve Kiviat, who is here from the Community Development Committee.
Welcome, all of you.
So yeah, I'm just going to go through my annual presentation here. These are the members of our current members of the committee. Garrett Colon is the chair. Steve here is the vice chair. Andrew is our clerk. Christine, Jessica, and Micah are our active members. So just some of the activities that CDBG funding can be used on. It's provide benefit to low and moderate income residents, prevent or eliminate slum and blight, meet an urgent community need. Funded activities must be listed on the consolidated plan, which we completed last year. Project proposals are evaluated by staff and then brought to the committee for their recommendations, then brought to the mayor for his input, and then eventually voted upon by the city council. So the annual action plan is a one-year document that outlines the activities that to be undertaken in FY27 based on priorities outlined in the 5-year plan, and those are available on the website. These are current income limits as published by HUD annually, usually around April. And these are the area benefit locations in Framingham, the pink sections of town. So some examples of activities are housing rehab, home buyer down payment assistance, rental assistance programs, affordable housing development, rehab admin, social services, which is our public service program, planning and administration, neighborhood improvements, which is our public facility program, and economic development activities. So this is just a rough timeline of some important dates that we have throughout the year. We send out our RFP usually late summer, early fall, close sometime around Thanksgiving. We like to do an info session for potential applicants. This past year, we did it in September, shortly after the application opened up. And then presentations are early in the new year, committee recommendations shortly after. This year, we're a little bit of a delay, but the mayor had a look at it in earlier this month, and then we have to, as it says, have this submitted to HUD by August 14th. And the proposed FY27 projects are just broken down by different categories here. So now we're moving on to the different projects. We'll start with our public service program, which is capped at 15% of our overall grant award, which this year equals about almost 72,000, 71.9 to be exact. So Framingham Adult ESL, they are a repeat applicant who would like to use some funding for an ESL teacher. This program takes place at the Brace Building. This funding will help fund one teacher for one of their semesters for the upcoming school year. Greater Framingham Community Church, they run a grocery bag program. They typically serve about 155 families every other Friday for 10 months out of the year, and they applied for supplies to help that program. Oh, yeah, if you noticed, the mayor increased the amount from what the committee had recommended to just try and help that program a little further. Hoops and Homework has an after-school program. They are applying for admin support and scholarships for the students. Metro West Mediation Services, they are applying for mediation support staff, and they help tenants and landlords come together to help reduce evictions and come to agreements to try and prevent evictions. Jewish Family Services applied twice this year. The first application is for their clothing closet program, which provides clothing, seasonal clothing to children in the community. The committee, because they applied for two separate programs, opted to not fund this one in favor of their other program, which will be coming up. MAPS helps, they applied for their Immigration Integration Services program, which helps new immigrants to the community get integrated in a number of different ways. They help fill out applications, navigate systems, reduce language barriers, a bunch of different services for that community. Framingham Community Connections, they are a repeat applicant, and they applied for their teen summer work program again this year. They hope to help 15 to 18 students with their award. Literacy Unlimited is another ESL program in town, which is run in the library, and they are applying for admin support, staff support, and there's programs mostly volunteer run. They run conversation classes and one-on-one tutoring. They help folks sign up for library cards and get set up online with different language assistance tools. Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Mass and Metro West applied for their Big Futures program again this year. The committee opted not to fund this, mostly because the funding is limited, and there's other programs that were more of a priority. This is, as mentioned, the second application for Jewish Family Services. This is for administrative support for their senior home share program, which helps match seniors with tenants and to try and help with the housing crisis. Circle of Hope is based out of Needham, but they work with Framingham State and Framingham School System to provide emergency hygiene essentials and clothing to folks experiencing homelessness in shelters. All right, so now we're on to our economic development program. Downtown Framingham, Inc. Applied for funding again this year to help support the staff for technical assistance to the small businesses downtown. Additionally, they'd like to run educational programs this year, having like guest speakers who are able to help the small business owners navigate different systems. And then some money to help support their annual events. SMOC applied for funding this year to help rehab their temporary transitional housing at 5961 Clinton Street. Just a number of exterior repairs, and then interior bathrooms, hot water tank, and an ADA accessible ramp. So for our public facility program continued, the Callahan Center applied for $75,000 for an update to their a kitchen remodel. This is the first phase where they'd like to hire an architect and purchase some equipment with the end goal of having a fully remodeled kitchen for meal prep and use by the seniors. The Framingham Public Library applied for funding to create an archive room as the main holder of all of Framingham's archives. It's critical that they have a environmentally friendly location to store these items and make it accessible to the residents. So now we're on to our home program, which is used for housing-related activities. You can move on to the next. So because we're a little bit late this year, we actually have 2 years of home allocations. FY26, we're allocating to our rental assistance program and admin. And then for the FY27 funding, we split it up for the Housing Authority's Carlson Crossing project, which is about to begin their final stage of the rehab of their housing development, and also admin support and our rental assistance program. So this is just a little bit of some stats from our TBA program this past year. We've supported 21 tenants. 6 of those tenants received our full year of rental assistance based on referral of Family Promise Metro West, which those tenants have to be working with in order to receive that benefit. And I just wanted to mention we are still in a 30-day comment period, which is required by HUD. So if anybody listening has any comments, they can send them to me at our communitydevelopment@framingham.ma.gov email address, phone number 508-523-5457, or stop by in person or mail to the Memorial Building, 150 Concord Street, room 121 in Framingham.
If they mail it to you, it'll never get there in 2 days, so. Why so late on those numbers? What's up with the July 16th? It's 2 days away.
We had our public hearing, I guess 28 days ago.
Okay. We'll open it up to the council. Any questions? Council Stefanini.
Just a comment and a question. First, great selection of programs and balance. Especially love the expansion of the tree program. The tree canopies have been great. The home program, could you use any of those funds, or would you envision using any of those funds for first-time home buyers? And I'm thinking in particular, we have a bunch of units that are going to be coming online as part of our affordable inclusion program that we'll be marketing. And even with the affordability for the group of people you're talking about, the down payment for a young family could be daunting.
Yeah, I think that's a terrific idea. I've thought about using not only the home, but also CDBG can be used for a program like that as well.
Because you have units that are coming on up at the Fafford property. You've got the one on Waverly Street that we just talked about that are coming through. There'll be a bunch of affordable units that are required to be sold as part of that. You might want to think about whether or not you could assist some first-time home buyer or something. That's just a thought. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Anybody else? Councilor Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for the presentation, Nate. Good to see you. I feel like we've done this earlier in previous years. Why, and I remember there being some kind of pressure around the timing in previous years. It's mid-July now, and you said we were late with something. Help me understand the change in timeframe. Turn your mic on.
Yeah, I believe due to the budget discussions you folks were having, we waited until that was resolved.
How were they, but you had a sense of what the numbers would be, and maybe, so was all the work done and then you just waited to finalize the numbers until the budget was done? I'm just unclear.
Well, we knew that obviously the city council was going through the budget issues this year, and you guys were having marathon meetings, and it was, our thought that we would wait to get through that budget before we actually came before you.
Last year, you wouldn't let us wait. You said we were, sorry, Mr. Chairman,
No,
you said we were up against deadlines.
We actually received an extension this year. We were supposed to have this done earlier, and we got another extension till August.
Okay, interesting. Do we have a sense, I was surprised at, some of the small amounts have really comprehensive and detailed background material, and I'm going to make the same request that I feel like I make every year. There's really no background material in the background material. There's a summary, and you can track it down on the website and along with some Form 990s, but gosh, it would be great to see something that really summarized the application, summarize how you're judging if it was successful or not. Some of these people are repeat applicants and repeat grantees, and I don't get the sense that we're monitoring the success of programs in, for example, DFI. It's the largest one. It's $100,000. I believe it's the entirety of their funding or a vast majority of it. Do we have a sense of what they were able to accomplish last year? Is it still worthwhile with the doing another $100,000 this year? I mean, how are we measuring those things? Same questions that I ask every year, really.
I meet with all of our grant recipients every year and go over their progress and discuss what's working, what isn't working, and how we can be more helpful. I think DFI this year with Tatiana having her full year plus under her belt has done a really great job with the business community. They opened up the center downtown, so folks can come in as opposed to her, going out. I think that that's been helpful from what I understand, and she's able to continue putting on the different programs that she does every year.
So I guess where would a member of the public or perhaps the finance subcommittee get a sense of what transpires in those meetings and the metrics that you're identifying as you go into the fiscal year saying, we'll be successful if we do this, this, and this, and then looking back over the previous fiscal year, were we successful or not? Is there a document that I should be looking at? I mean, that's great to hear. That's really encouraging. But where would I, in preparation for this meeting, where should I have looked to get a sense of that?
In terms of the metrics, that's part of the application process. The applicant will, let us know how they view a successful program, and then my meetings based on that.
So I'm looking at their application. Am I missing something? Because I don't see anything that talks about what you've referenced in terms of your discussions with them.
That's after the fact. So I have records that aren't public of those discussions, but I can make them available.
No, I've always struggled with our CDBG process because we don't seem to have a scalable. We don't seem to apply the same criteria consistently. It almost feels like, well, we're feeling this and but we don't seem to have anything that's really agnostic. And I could be wrong, but in looking at all the documents, we seem to have a lot of paperwork. I mean, not in DFI's case, but some of them have, we see their entire 990, but not necessarily what the CDBG grant is going to do for them. So I just don't know how to You know, other than, yeah, I know these people and I think they're great. I don't know how we're evaluating them.
We also ask them for their accomplishments over the years, so that quarterly, they have to submit how many number of people they've served, or in DFI's cases, businesses, which,
So where would I see that?
again, it's not,
You can just leave the microphone on, but why would we not, I guess in making your case to the City Council's Finance Subcommittee that we're being wise and judicious with these dollars, why would you choose to not share that information with us that at least, at the very least, celebrates the accomplishments of organizations in our community? Look at all the wonderful things that these organizations are doing with our collaborative community assistance. That seems like really helpful information to know, and it seems like we have this conversation annually.
I can provide that information for you, and I can make it a part of the regular background information going forward.
Yeah, I mean, anything that shows that we're really doing a good job with this is just great stuff to know. All right, I'll leave it there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Nate.
Councilor Malik.
Thank you. I have a question about the Seabra Foods loan.
Sure.
What is the status of that? We're not funding it this year.
So the funding, it was a set aside to repay a loan. And to this point, the loan is still awaiting HUD approval. It's gone through our regional office, and it's sitting at the federal level, waiting for their sign off.
Is that does that need to be approved before we're going to start finally seeing work on the building?
The work could start before the loan approval. This loan is for the back end, for equipment purchases.
So maybe this is a question for Mr. Sarkeesian. When are we going to start to see work on that building?
I had a conversation with Seabra yesterday, and they just received demolition numbers on the cost of demolition, and they were over $500,000 interior demolition that they have to do. So they're looking at reevaluating the cost, looking at getting different proposals, maybe even having a different architect look at this building. They do plan on going forward, and I basically told them, look, we've been very patient. We've actually banked 2 years' worth of $100,000 set aside because we got to repay back that 108 loan. And they assured me that, no, we're in, we're gonna go forward with this project. And again, they're reevaluating the numbers. Construction costs, I don't have to tell you guys, are very expensive right now, the numbers that are coming in, but they're committed to building out this project. That's all I have.
Is there a possibility that they could do some exterior work in the meantime? I mean, there's some crumbling bricks on the side of the building that it would just nice to have it be cleaned up right there in the downtown.
Of course, I will reach out
I
to them
can
tomorrow.
send you pictures if that's helpful.
Yeah. I know it's very frustrating not to see any activity. I think we're all excited to finally see something. We, worked hard to get the project approved, get the TIF in place, the 108 loan, which we've worked on for almost 2 years now. We still don't have the final sign off, but there's no reason why they couldn't have started, last year at least.
Going back to the federal loan, is this something, recently the mayor worked with the federal delegation in advocating with CSX. Could our federal delegation help move HUD, or at least inquire with HUD as to what the status of this approval is?
I don't see why not.
Right.
Is that, because, this has been quite a while, and it would be nice to see some movement on the loan and on the building, and I appreciate your following up with them. I have another question, if I may.
Yep.
To your memo, where it talks about the unspent funds, I see from FY '24 that we have this approximately 160,000 that is obligated or that isn't obligated. I guess I'm not clear what, I see a request for 50,000 of that to go to per diem nursing staff, which I definitely approve of. So then, what's this other 160,000?
So you deduct the 50,000 from that 110.
Right.
So that's the remaining funds that we need to obligate and spend by the end of December.
So
So
how,
right now, we have, the request is the 50,000 go towards the nursing program, and then we're looking at other proposals right now.
so the money that we were just talking about is FY '27, right? Like the whole presentation that Nate just did is FY '27. Okay. So we still have 160 from FY '24. Can some of that money be used towards some of these, like the people who applied for FY '27 didn't get the full amount that they requested?
Unfortunately, the public services, which is the primary group that didn't receive full funding, is capped, and we can't go above the cap.
So this 160,000, it says obligated by August 7th. So that means in the next 2 weeks, you're going to know how you're spending that money?
Not a clue.
That's where the the money for the nurses is coming from.
I thought the nurses were only getting 50,000.
That's correct.
Correct.
So that leaves 160,000.
That leaves 110.
It leaves 110. So
Where does that
in
go?
2 weeks, you're going to have a plan for what you're doing with that 110,000?
Those funds were,
I think that's the CARES Act money that you're referring to.
Yes.
Which was, will we know in 2 weeks? We're going to try, yes.
those funds are CARE Act funds that were supposed to be spent.
So can you remind me what the
It's
parameters are?
That was for COVID and COVID-related expenses.
So are we going, if we don't, so what COVID-related expenses would we have in the next, now?
Maybe you can use it for that $1 million we spent on COVID that we weren't supposed to.
Yeah.
Put it towards that. Might be helpful with the budget. The thought. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
We owe $1 million of money we weren't
It
supposed to
just
spend.
wasn't used
It wasn't used appropriately, I'm sorry.
Brian, do you have any insight here into what these, I guess I just feel like we're going to end up returning $110,000. I'm not getting a sense that there's really a plan.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
The only sense I have is the discussion that I had about this and potentially directing 50,000 towards the per diem nurses. It has to be spent by December 7th. What it originally was for, I'm not entirely sure, because it was, I hate to say pre-Brian, but it was long before I arrived here, and we're up against a deadline. So I agreed in the discussions that, based on my limited understanding of what it originally was for, that the public health nurses per diem would likely be something that could be covered. But given the short window of having to expend it by December 7th, using more than that may be a real tough stretch to be able to have the health department expend on the per diem nurses. This was a way to try to supplement that after we had gone through the budget process.
I mean, I think using it to fund per diem nursing is a great use if that's allowed, and presumably nursing and COVID sort of goes together. It would be great to use that money. I mean, I'm happy to help brainstorm if that's helpful, but it just feels like we have money that we can spend. I would like to spend it and not return
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Thank you. So Ciabra, the construction prices the last 3 years have been pretty steady. So this is actually, you and I toured a building on Howard Street not that long ago, right? The guy that bought the Don Garland building. So I wanted you to meet with them. How could they not know what the costs were going to be? That guy that bought that Don Garland building's banking on Ciabra doing what they said they were going to do. If something happens and hasn't happened in 3 years, we all know what the odds are of it gonna happen. It can't, you know what I mean, all the time and effort, all what we did,
I know.
what the city did, it's not a good look, okay? Because even when Vios had the building, at least it had some activity going on. It's just, it's sad, because that was gonna be an anchor for downtown. They made us a lot of promises. They went somewhere else and finished the building, and all we've been getting is lip service for 3 years. And anybody should have known what the costs were gonna be. Counselor King.
What's the status of the apartment complex that was going to displace them where they currently exist?
That project is, I'm sorry, that project is not going forward because there's a long-term lease in place with the automotive store.
So their
That's in there.
motive to move
So
disappeared. when
so
that-
their project, they received a variance for that project, and that project variance is probably going to expire very soon.
Right, but so Ciabra lost their motive to move. I mean, isn't that frankly what it is?
That's, yeah, correct.
Exactly correct, Counselor King.
So why don't-
And also, they knew the long-term lease was there before. The reason that thing isn't going forward, let's call it what it is, it doesn't pencil out anymore with the new interest rates and everything going on. That's why that's off the books, because all it takes is a check to buy out the lease. We all know what that takes, just a
Well,
check.
I think in what that lease amount of payout was, I think they couldn't come to an agreement. But, yeah, you're correct. There's no urgency for Ciabra to move.
Because they have a home. Counselor Cannon.
I'm glad this the topic of Ciabra came up, because I feel like we wouldn't have been clued into this if someone didn't ask the question. So thank you, Counselor Malik. And that is really, really bothersome to me, because the city council kind of went out on a limb to be very supportive of this and fulfill a long articulated need in greater downtown about having a grocery anchor. So we're out of the loop. Being kept out of the loop by your office on this is hurtful to the city council and the community, because we can't come up with another plan to have grocery in downtown, which is a domino effect in greater downtown. But I wasn't aware, because, I didn't realize that project wasn't moving forward, and that changes everything for, I'm really bothered, and I'm trying to serenity now, because I'm really unhappy that this is how the moment, the viability of that project that was the entire catalyst for Ciabra having to move, the moment we knew about that inside the building, it should have come forward to the city council, because we approved the TIF, all of the reasons that we talked about. So I don't know if this was a calculated move by your office, or if it was a remarkably, some remarkably poor judgment.
No, this was not from our office. We've been talking about having Ciabra start. I've been on the phone with
I
them
get
for
it.
2 years. I can't
Then you fell
take them.
for it, Sarkey. I don't know, you were.
Excuse me, Councilor Cannon.
Excuse me, sir, you interrupted me.
You asked me a question.
I wasn't done speaking, but I'll stop speaking so you don't have to interrupt. Go ahead, please, through you.
No,
Mr.
you
Chair.
go ahead, Councilor Cannon.
I tried to. Go ahead,
Go
please.
ahead, no.
I'm looking for your explanation at this point.
I'm here to serve you, please.
Continue.
I'll leave it there, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do you want to answer that question?
No, I do want to answer that question, because I'm not happy about this, and if you noticed, we didn't bank $100,000 this year, and I've told Ciabra, if they don't see any activity, we're not going to be very happy. We all work diligently to try to make this work. I can't make a property owner hire a contractor and go in and do demolition. I can't do that. We only have certain tools that we have available. We gave them all our tools. We gave them a TIF. We worked our butts off getting this 108 loan done. Right? We spent our own money getting the 108 loan done. We, the Community Development Office, worked through that application, which was brutal, got it through, got it submitted, and we've done our part. And they haven't done their part, and I've let them know that.
I get it, and I don't think it's a business decision that they're making. I completely get what their position is. I don't think they're doing anything wrong. I mean, I'm disappointing the city of Framingham is probably not on their list of consequences that they're up. I mean, I think in a perfect world, they'd love to be in greater downtown. But as Chairman Ottaviani said, it doesn't pencil out anymore. They don't have to do it. They have their home is there. I don't understand why you wouldn't let us know the moment that housing project was, first of all, you should let us know for the housing reasons as well, but the moment we knew about that, why we weren't kept in the loop. It's profoundly disappointing to me, and it gives me a bit of a crisis of confidence in our economic development operation, because if we were either played or we took our eyes off the ball, but there's a series of dominoes that started falling, and especially when there's a TIF involved, we just should have been kept abreast of that, because I feel like the council has been remarkably patient, not for Seabra to get their act together, because I understand they're running a business. That's fine. They're a private enterprise. But in not micromanaging the economic development department within the city to make sure that we were on top of it. And I frankly the council probably should have been more diligent there in following up, because it came about happenstance tonight, and we learned it's never going to happen. So,
Who's saying it's never going to happen?
I mean, I'm happy to make a friendly wager, Mr.
He's talking the
Sarkeesian.
apartments, I think, right? And if the apartments don't happen, Seabra might not move.
There's no reason for them. There's no reason for them to
Do
move.
they own the property? Did they close on the property of Ios?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the only thing. They do own the property.
We own the property.
Okay, because that was the big rush.
Councilor Malik.
So I've,
I can call on, I know, I see the hands.
two comments. One is, I remember, following that housing development not being developed at the Seabra property, I remember when that was withdrawn from the planning board. It was quite a while ago. That's not new information, that's not moving forward. And I would say part of the motivation for Seabra to move is that the building they're in right now is not big enough for them. And looking at the store that they just built out in Worcester, which is beautiful and light-filled, the freezers that they have now at their current location are inconsistent. And it is cramped and crowded. I think part of their motivation as business folks would be that they can create a better product. And I know it's something that, you and I check in about on a regular basis, because I haven't seen any movement there. So I'm happy to help in any way that I can, pushing them forward.
Those points are perfectly correct. However, they spent all their money in Worcester. That's what it comes down to. They've spent all their money in Worcester, and I agree with you, the site they're in right now is insufficient. However, moving from an operation that's up and running and they're successful where they are, even though it's much smaller. I had this conversation with Councilor Bryant. Now, their cost to move to the corner of Howard Street and Waverly, 126, it's huge. And there comes a time, sometimes things don't pencil out. And that's, the motivation of needing a new home immediately is completely changed. And sometimes, you can't have everything all at once. And that's, they did their Worcester project. And if there's a problem with $500,000 on inside demolition, there's that budget over there's a lot more money than $500,000 for that entire project. So if there's a $500,000 problem, there's about a $5 or $6 million problem. So that's construction 101. Anybody else? Anybody in the audience have anything they want to share or add? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Ms. Bazak.
I
Welcome,
guess
Gina.
I would like to just speak on what Leora had said, for the fact that there's $110,000 that, am I hearing this correctly, that we're going to give back, and we had 2 years to figure out where it was spent? To me, that seems as if somebody didn't do their job. And for us, in the financial position we are, and there's how many of us here? I'm not even a fraction of Framingham. If this got out in the open, we're giving back $110,000. Somebody should be accountable for that. So I think that as a taxpayer and somebody who wants to see this community move forward, I'm going to come up in a little while and fight for positions for a complex, the Mary Dennison, while $110,000 being given back because somebody didn't figure out where that money should go. So just wanted to make that point.
We could have been spending on per diem nurses for the last 2 years probably, because nothing's easy, but hopefully we can come up with a solution and figure out where to spend that money. Because, like I said, worst case scenario, maybe it can go towards that money we owe, $1 million. Anybody else?
Just one question about it.
Councilor Cannon, then Councilor Malik.
Can we talk about SMOC for a moment? Have you met with them recently?
I toured the facility a few months ago, yes.
How does, this might be a better question for the COO, how does, when they apply for funding like this, are we in ongoing dialogue with them about how this fits into their overall strategy in Framingham, how they're serving Framingham? Are they being good neighbors to Framingham, collaborative? Mr. Tassino, anything you want to weigh in on there?
They don't have a pilot program, that's for sure, so they don't pay anything for their services.
I didn't hear what you said, Mr. Chair.
No.
It was my question, actually.
Mr.
I know, but
Kennedy.
I just was
I
curious.
just said we don't have a pilot program in place, so, payment in lieu of taxes. So we're giving them 87,000, and Councilor Cannon was just curious if we,
Right, that's one issue. The other issue is Mr. Sarkeesian's been talking to them about moving, doing some building swapping, that type of thing. I don't know where it stands right now, but he has been in discussions about that.
So where does that stand now? I was trying to not be specific about that, but if we're going to give them the better part of $100,000, and there are some ongoing ways we can be more successfully collaborative in the overall strategy for Framingham,
are we making?
where are we there?
Mr. Sarkeesian, that's more for you.
Is that,
Are we
is
making
that a
progress?
question for that department, though?
Well, he's the guy talking to them, I believe, about the swap with the piece, that building downtown.
So we, right now, are using our EPA grant to fund an environmental study of the Bishop Street property that SMART currently owns. We're going to do an environmental Phase 1, Phase 2, see what the costs are environmentally so that we can try to make this happen and close the gap. There's a gap regarding what their property value, what their value of that property site is, and where they would relocate to. But we're currently working, using our EPA funds, to do an environmental assessment of that property. And part of this project that SMART has applied for Clinton Street is that, this is in the middle of a residential neighborhood, right? And it's a home that homes several families, and you drive down the street, and unfortunately, you know which one the SMART home is. And so I'm supportive to see the actual outside be repaired, the chain link fence, from painting the house to fixing the roof, so at least the neighborhood has a nice home and appearance that fits in with the general neighborhood. And that's what their proposal, what their project is. And we're trying to create a relationship with them so that we can do more economic development along Bishop Street.
So where, I guess, in looking at the chessboard, where does this put us at? I mean, help me understand the state of the greater relationship there.
I haven't been involved in that. Mrs. Sarkeesian and the mayor have been dealing with
Oh,
SMART.
then I'm sorry, I'll direct it to the mayor.
This is all, Sarkey's been working on a project. The end goal is to find a place for Jack's Abbey to expand. We don't want Jack's Abbey to look outside of Framingham to expand, and they're desperate to expand, and they have limited time left on their lease. So he's been working with them and with SMOC and with other property owners in the area to try and work out an arrangement where the Jack's Abbey will end up in that old power building, where they would like to end up so they can expand in their existing building expand their manufacturing. And it's like putting pieces of a puzzle together. There's a lot of moving pieces. He's dealing with a lot of different property owners and a lot of environmental issues and other zoning issues, and it's a very complicated thing. And he's been working on it, and I check in with him almost on a weekly basis to see how it's going. And he's making progress and getting the owners together and making arrangements for SMOC and the other people involved to work out a deal. And that's the end goal. And we're making progress on that.
All right, that's good to hear. I didn't know how much of that you could share, so I was trying to dance a little bit, but thank you for sharing that. We are on the same page there. Does this help us get closer to that? Is it completely unrelated and we should just approve it and move on? And is it time, I know that he's been involved in leading this, but I feel like we've been talking about it for a while. Is it one of those things that that it's time for, to involve you in more of a forward position in that, since there is a dwindling timeline on the lease for Jack's Abbey, and they're going to have to start making some difficult decisions that, if there isn't action here, won't be favorable for Framingham.
That's right. The issue about the money for SMOC for Clinton Street is kind of unrelated to what we've been talking about just now.
Okay. I was hopeful that we could leverage that somehow, but all right, very good. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, and then I'm
also
going to say something, Councilman
regarding the
Mackey's motion.
SMOC in this, the Jack's Abbey proposal, the good news is that there's a new opportunity zone that's been created by the state, and this property actually falls into that opportunity zone. What we have to do is, I sent in a request to have this opportunity zone adopted. That needs to be approved by the governor, and the mayor, of course, needs to be involved in that so that we can include this property as part of the opportunity zone, which would hopefully help close the gap long-term for this project.
It's a state opportunity zone?
No, our opportunity zone, you know how we have an
Right, the
opportunity
federal.
zone? Right, the federal opportunity, well, they just created 2 other zones, and they created the Bishop Street property that falls into this opportunity zone.
Okay,
There's
you
about
said state, that's
400
what threw me off.
There's
Okay,
about
thank you.
400 opportunity zones. The governor only approves 100. So we would need to get this included in that new district.
That's good you share that with us, because the people get mad about all the, the zoning, the apartments, this and that, and you're doing all this good work and nobody knows about it. Okay, I'll be honest with you. Jack's Abbey reached out to me in the chamber. They wanted to do a festival on Clinton Street. Well, guess what? David DePietri owns half of Clinton Street. Jack's Abbey, Kalari, is it Kalari, owns the other half. They've been trying to do this for 3 years. Well, guess what? They're gonna get it this year, because David DePietri, who's in charge of that Dennison Triangle, agreed to shut the street down, because he's got control over, I guess, that street. It's a private way, I'm not sure what it is, but I got reached out, and for Jack's Abbey, we should be able to do anything they ask, we should try to do. So I have a relationship with Mr. DePietri, and I made the call, and he absolutely, anything I can do to help the city, he said. And he asked if the mayor was on board, because he's a big supporter of the mayor's, and he lives in Framingham, and we were able to do that for Jack's Abbey and the chamber, and they're gonna do some big festival, I think, on that street, and they needed it shut down. And Mr. DePietri was more than, David DePietri, we'll make sure we use the right name, was very helpful with that.
And I'm sure if there's, the mayor mentioned zoning. Zoning should not be an issue that prohibits this deal from moving forward for Framingham to take care of Jack's Abbey. I mean, if there's an opportunity for us to be helpful there, I'm sure, not speaking for anybody else, but I'm sure there is an appetite for us to move quickly on that.
Make a zoning change.
So there are some ways to communicate that's helpful to know. Do we have a time frame on when we'll know about that opportunity zone designation?
We just submitted the application 2 weeks ago, so there'll be a follow-up, probably. I'll follow up next
Okay,
week.
thanks very much.
Maybe Saturday, you can stop by my house and see the lieutenant governor. You can whisper in her ear, and she can help you a little bit.
I think the mayor's already done that.
I'm sure he has, but he calls the governor. My connection, I got the lieutenant governor's number. I don't have the governor's.
I just want to go back to Seabra, and
Sure.
I apologize, but I don't want you guys to think that we're just sitting on our hands, not doing anything with Seabra. I'm on the phone with them every couple of months. Council Leora Mallett calls me. She's like, when are they going to get started? Look, I'm trying. I can't force them to build, but
I get that.
I
And I
want to
don't,
apologize. I want to apologize to you because it's just, I'm frustrated too.
I don't
And by
think
the
for-
way, that $100,000, don't worry, I'll spend that money.
I don't think for a moment, by the way, I don't think that for a moment. I know, I mean, you're running, I get all of that. I am disappointed that I'm tonight putting the pieces together that make it pretty clear that it would be unlikely, I think, for that project to ultimately move forward for all of the things that have come up for tonight. So I think there are some communication issues that we can work on, probably more so than anything else. But thank you. No apology necessary.
And I'm not speaking for the council, but we wanted to give you an assistant, okay? We know what you do, all right? I appreciate what you do. I think we all appreciate what you do. Council Mallett, we all call you, and you respond. You respond on weekends, you answer text. We all appreciate what you do, and we know you're trying. And you can't tell people what to do. We know that, and that's not how it all works. Councilor Malik.
I would make a motion, if you're amenable to it, to approve the allocation of the CDBG funds, as well as the unspent CDBG funds and CARES Act funds as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Malik, second by Councilor Stephanie. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? 5-0? Your hand was up, George, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 5-0. Order 2026-059-001, upon the request of the council, referral to the Finance Subcommittee the matter and creation of a new municipal aggregation ADA revolving fund to serve the City of Framingham municipal electricity aggregation program, to consider additional information provided by the CFO. Brian, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. The only additional information that I have on this is that after more than one conversation with DOR and a phone call yesterday afternoon, we cannot create a revolving fund for this. It's not permitted or allowed under 53E and a half. That's their opinion. They believe it's a regulatory receipt, and those are specifically excluded from being able to be put into a revolving fund. So if the operational adder moves forward, the only way to accomplish what we were trying to do would be the creation of a special purpose stabilization fund, which can direct any receipts into it, and then would require, takes a 2/3 majority to create it, and then it takes a simple majority to remove funding for it. But that would be the only mechanism available to us. I've tried every which way to convince them that it's not a regulatory fund, but they're not going to move off that analysis. So our option is, if this continues, would be a special purpose stabilization fund.
So is that your recommendation?
It would be my recommendation that we put it into a special purpose stabilization fund rather than let it go into a, through the general fund, because it would be easier to account for it, and it would be directed for specific purposes that were set forth in the creation of that special purpose stabilization fund.
Okay. I'll open it up to the councilors. Any questions? Councilor Stephanie?
What is the mechanism if the council chooses to return these dollars to ratepayers?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So that's an interesting question, which I have been talking to DLS Law about, and the initial presumption by them was that there is no mechanism to return it, but I asked them to do some more research and make a definitive determination or give me more definitive guidance on that, because I don't know enough about whether we can certainly rescind it, I believe, but what happens to those proceeds, they're unsure. They've never had somebody ask this question, so they've got to do some more research on what our mechanism would be to return it, because my initial inclination in the process of that would be that we'd have to return it to the provider or the supplier, and then they'd have to figure out how to return it, because I don't know how we would ever figure out how to return it, because we wouldn't know who it was originally collected from. So I think that there's a laundry list of issues that we have to sort through if that were to be the action that we're taking. And it wouldn't be as simple as just writing checks to people. It's an interesting question that we're not prepared for and need to do more research.
Because the idea of putting money into a account that's never going to get used, or for the purpose isn't something we can do, doesn't seem like a very smart idea.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So if we put it into a special purpose stabilization fund, we could use it for what was the purposes that were outlined by the capital facilities. So we could use it for those purposes. We would have to create that and get the authorization for those specific purposes. So, but it would be able to be used for those purposes. I think the broader question is whether, based on the conversations before, whether the council wants to continue to have it, to charge it, to accept it or not, and that's not a decision for me to make. I think that's a policy decision for the council, and I think that was brought up at a couple of the meetings. So I have done everything I can at this point and to determine where it should go and how it should be done, and I'm just waiting for DLS Law to come back with their opinion on if we were to rescind it, how we would distribute it, or whether we can rescind, whether we can distribute it back.
Okay. Councilor Cannon, you were next.
Thank you. Let's just relish the moment. I like that the Commonwealth was caught off guard by a municipality's question about giving money back to residents and taxpayers and ratepayers. I don't know, I think that's kind of funny. They've never been asked that question before. No kidding. Anyway, Brian, thanks for the work on this. Could not the broker, I'm using the wrong terminology, but there is a, it's not supplier and it's not.
The broker?
Is it the broker that collects there's an entity that's on, Sean, thanks for coming up. You saw the puzzled look on my face, but could not that company that is being paid based on the usage, could they not return the, I mean, is that not the path to go back?
Correct. So they would inform essentially our supplier to redistribute the funding that's been collected in the form of a discount on our aggregation program rates. And so that would flow back to program participants.
So it wouldn't be a refund, it would be a credit, basically? And is this what we're waiting on DLS law to give guidance on?
It is, but I also think there becomes a question of if somebody had paid it and is no longer in the city, they're entitled to, they would potentially be entitled to something. And I think there's some questions about the mechanics of all of it. And since they didn't appear to fully understand how to get it back and need to research it, I do agree that that's probably the simplest way, but I think that one of their concerns was getting it back to the people that actually had paid it versus forward on a proactive basis versus the retroactive basis. How do we accomplish that?
So should we wait until we hear back from them through you? And is there any reason why waiting or not taking action tonight is problematic for you?
It's not problematic for me from the perspective that we have not actually put in front of the city council to be referred to finance subcommittee the request to even create a special purpose stabilization fund, which is different than the revolving fund. So if it's continuing and we wanted to do that, we'd have to put that request through to get that properly accepted and adopted and set up. So the only harm in waiting is we're continuing to collect the fee, and I'm happy to provide whatever assistance, but I do believe in my capacity that that's a policy decision at some point that the council has to make. But there's no harm in continuing to collect it. If we find out how to redistribute it, and you chose to rescind it, then we would do that.
You touched on my follow-up question, which is what action do we need to take for you to stop collecting that fee until there are bigger decisions to be made by the council, et cetera, in the community?
And I think that how to stop it or what mechanism or process that takes is probably more in Sean's purview in talking with the people that put this program together than me, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I can help with collections and where to send it, but that mechanics with the actual operation of the program, probably I would defer to Sean.
Fair enough.
Thank you. So I guess I would just say the authorization for us to develop this program included the ability to collect the adder. So I think in the context of this discussion, we wanted to see where this was headed so that, if it was determined that we wanted to use this funding for some of the purposes proposed, obviously it would make sense to continue to collect it. But if the wish of the council is to return this funding back, I think it makes sense for us to do so. In that case, that would be through, the mayor, that we would inform the consultant and the supplier to make that change.
Okay, so how do you want to, my feeling, Mr. Chairman, is we're taxing the community. We weren't transparent that we're taxing the community, so they're paying more to fund our, whatever wish list we come up with. They didn't have I don't want to repeat our previous meetings, but until we figure out what the long-term plan is, if we have a long-term plan, we should stop collecting this fund. So I don't know how you want to handle, if you want a motion to, I don't know what
We'll
that.
do a motion, we'll have discussion. Good idea.
So I'll move that
Councilman,
we,
I'm gonna hand it to you.
help me with the language, I'll accept any friendly amendments to get us there, but I'll move that the administration instruct our consultants to stop collecting the adder fee.
Second. There's a second by Stephanie.
Is that clear enough for your purposes? Okay.
Any other comments? Councilman Malka, your hand had been up?
Yeah, I am somewhat amused because other municipalities have an adder fund, right? Isn't that right?
That was brought up. My prior community has a highly successful operational adder revolving fund, which is likely now at risk based on their interpretation.
Oh, they really love you now, don't they?
Well,
He left.
Hey, not only did you leave,
I don't know,
but now
were
you're
you-
putting their things at risk.
were you referring to DOR or to my prior community? Because, no, their response was when I asked is that, sometimes a lot of things happen that we don't know about immediately until we're presented with the question. And we probably wouldn't have even been at this point except for the call to talk about something else completely with DOR, from DOR, that the individual that talked to me offered the opinion that this is not available to be used through a revolving fund. So we likely would have adopted it potentially, much like every other community, and waited for some other community to find out that it wasn't okay. And they'll likely at some point, I think, issue an informational guideline release on it. And we'll need to inform communities how to correct it.
And maybe they should talk to their DPU also, like go
That might be a
across
good
the
idea as
hall or
well.
something. I mean, I do support the idea that using funds for these community programs as were presented in an adder fund. I don't, I guess, support an adder fund, but I would support a stabilization fund and the use of this money for sort of as outlined community impact projects.
Is there any other discussion, Council Cannon?
I think the difference is how you have that dialogue with the community, so everybody is in the loop. I mean, if it took the council by surprise that, hey, we're collecting this little fee on the side that we're going to put away, and don't worry, we're from the government, we're here to help. We'll decide how to spend your money, and we'll do a real good job there. If we're surprised by it, it shows that we weren't, as a municipality, very transparent with the community on how we're collecting their dollars. And we really went out of our way to talk about savings, and when you start building things in and not telling people about it, it erodes confidence. And in this case, it eroded confidence, I think, in some members of the council. So I think the communities with the adder funds that are successful, aside from the bookkeeping questions, which will be resolved, are the ones that have been transparent with their residents that this is exactly where your money's going and this is why. We didn't do that. And that's the lesson learned for us. So it's bigger than what kind of fund it's put in and what column on the spreadsheet it goes into. It's we're collecting a tax, so we didn't tell people about. That's the problem. So we could revisit this and have a transparent conversation, because I think there's some good intent behind it, but we weren't as careful and thoughtful as we always aspire to be. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Anybody else? Seeing none, all those in favor of Council Cannon's motion and Council Stephanie's second, say aye. All those opposed? It votes 4-1. Next order of business.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Council Stephanie.
What did we do relative to the money that is sitting there?
It's not sitting there.
Oh,
I think we're going to eventually, we're going to establish the account that he wants the money put in.
Right, but
It's
we did the
closing out
first
the-
piece-
It's
we did-
closing out the free cash.
right,
He
but we
doesn't want to
did,
do that, he said.
right, but we did the first piece of that business. We didn't do the second piece of that
So
business.
we
Right,
should do
I
another
agree.
motion.
Right, but
So we
you
need a
said, I
second
thought,
motion.
can we just have that clarified? Those, I thought you said if we didn't have a place, I thought the last discussion, I thought that's why we pushed it here, was that it was going to close out the free cash and we could create a stabilization fund and appropriate it from free cash. Has that changed?
No, through you, Mr. Chair. So at this point, it will effectively close to free cash since the fiscal year is completed. It ended on June 30th, and since this was not taken up or created at that point, we have no mechanism at this point. We can put the request to create the special purpose stabilization fund forward. And then we could also, when free cash is certified, ask for a authorization to transfer free cash into there. I think some of what we ultimately do is really two-part, because if we have to send money back, then we will have to find a mechanism to repay it, which would likely be through this special purpose stabilization fund, which may be the easiest way. And if there's a future discussion about adding the operational adder back, then it would be appropriate to have the vehicle to accept the funds set up before we actually start adding it to the bill. But at this point, we would need to create it and transfer free cash when that's certified to deal with it.
Mr. Chairman,
Council Stephanie.
I would move that we recommend the creation of a special purpose stabilization fund to hold the adder funds, and that an amount equal to, but not greater than $200,000, equal to the adder funds collected, but not greater than $200,000, be deposited from free cash when it is certified into said account.
Is there a second for discussion?
Well, second, but
okay, you're up.
I'm opposed to it though right now, not opposed to it overall. But why don't we wait I mean, I thought that's why we were bringing here, and that's what we're going to do. But why don't we wait to see how some of the rest of this stuff shakes out, since we can't move the money till this November or December anyways.
Okay.
So, I mean, I just think, I thought tonight was the night to do it, but given all that, I don't see why we would want to do it.
I would withdraw the motion.
And then perhaps we can see what changes, and
Okay,
let's make sure we don't lose it on that.
so we're in good shape then. So we're all good. We made up, Councilor Malik, you want to speak?
Just to say that we don't lose it. I want to sort of hold to that. So is it about tabling this agenda item to date certain, which is our first meeting in November? So
Let's withdraw, but why don't we just put it on the calendar?
withdraw.
Why don't we
Okay,
just
put it on the calendar for first meeting in November.
Yep, absolutely.
At least for a follow-up.
Okay, next order of business. Discussion and background materials added, discussion with the administration regarding staffing and maintenance of the Mary Dennison Park.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep. Councilor Stefanini.
So during the budget conversation, we talked with the mayor about staffing. It wasn't an immediate priority because the park isn't opening until August or September, but we had talked about working with the administration to do that. I pushed this forward, as the memo indicates, to find a way to collaborate with the mayor and to take the temperature of the council. The council voted, Mr. Mayor, as you know, 11-0, so there's certainly a clear interest in trying to figure out how to do this. I guess my question is, what's our plan, or what have you thought through a plan? Do you need additional time to think through a plan? But how do we make sure when this is open that there's some level of staffing that's associated with this?
Ideally, to do it right, we would need to increase our staffing for Parks and Rec Department. And Allison has put together a plan with various options of level of staffing, she proposes to do depending on how many people we can get. The issue is, and I think we all agree that we need to do something to beef up the staff to maintain the park once it's open. By the way, I took a tour of it with Allison the other day, and it's going to be fantastic. It's fabulous. Going to be a real showplace for the city and the region. The problem is, where do we get the money to provide the additional staff? And I think if the council is serious about doing it, which I believe you are, we will come up with a plan somehow to find the money to open the park with additional staff.
Okay.
And we can bring it forward at your next meeting.
Super. So I would withdraw this then and wait, or I would postpone this so that you can do what you need to do. I mean, let's hear it and go through this so that we vet it. I think that's good news, because this is obviously going to be a gem. $40 million on 16 acres is, and I was fortunate enough to get a tour of it not too long ago myself. It is going to be spectacular. So I'll defer to you, to the chair, to Allison.
You're here.
I'm here. I wanted to be available if there were any questions. Like the mayor said, we took a tour the other day. I also made a poster for you guys. Marion added some photos today to the agenda, so if you wanted to look quickly at the, Marion, at the first one, the 2023.
Which document is that?
There's a photo, the end of it
Two
says
photos.
October 2023.
I'm looking at our agenda for the background material.
It should be towards the,
It was added this afternoon.
You can blow that up.
Mary Dennison
Yep,
aerial,
yep.
10/30/2023.
Key is to refresh. That's what the kids call it.
so the two photos I have are not exactly the same angle, but this is an aerial view of the park in 2023. We had 2 basketball courts, a baseball field, 2 softball fields, and a lot of open area. One of the softball fields was a lit field with lights. So then, Marion, if you want to show the other photo.
How much did the poster cost?
Looking spectacular.
I'll get you the number.
We don't know what the poster costs?
I didn't personally get the bill for this, but yes, the department has it. I'll get it for you.
Is the poster just for this?
How much the
meeting?
poster cost?
Well, I mean, do we create a poster that's mounted just for this meeting?
You're worth it.
I know I'm worth it, but the tax, I'm being a little tongue in cheek, but how much did the poster cost?
Mr.
at this
Chairman.
meeting? I hope so. The mayor says $5. I'll pay for that.
I was gonna say, here you go, here you go.
Oh, Mary, no, those other photos are not the ones to share.
So before we go forward, your thoughts, the mayor said you had thoughts on staffing.
I do, yes. So originally presented, sorry.
Point of why, let's hear from the administration. We just withdrew it, so I don't think we should start talking about thoughts. I'd like to hear from the administration.
Well, the mayor said that Allison was going to present the administration's thoughts.
Well, I thought you said they were going to come back in a couple of weeks.
No, we're prepared to come back at your next meeting with a proposal to come up with some funding to provide new staff.
Oh, okay.
Her proposal, well, I'll let her tell you what her proposal is.
I looked at 3 different models, depending on what funding becomes available. So either a low, medium, or high staffing model. So originally with the budget request, there was 6 staff, which would be full-time coverage, 7 days a week, 2 shifts of staff, 2 crews. The next option would be a pared-down version of that, so that would be a request for 4 staff. And then the low would be trying to make things work with what we have for staff, but that would mean some concessions in other areas.
I think this is a really exciting time for our Parks Department. This has been a long time coming, and I am having delightful flashbacks to when I was a much younger person. Judy Grove and I joined town meeting at the same time, and we're in a subcommittee meeting that was exhausting. And Judy Grove was talking about Mary Dennison Park, and most of the room was, what is Mary Dennison Park? And I mean, and these were experienced people who were active in our community, and to see what through, I mean, this is a big team effort, but this is one of those projects that would not be where it is without the dogged determination of Councilor Emeritus Judy Grove. So a very exciting time for our community. I feel good that we'll find a solution for this. I don't know that what we've talked about tonight is going to be the solution. I think another thing that ultimately will work well for this is the reorganization that is forthcoming. I think you've chosen a good leader to oversee parks in Mr. Paolini, who has a pretty good, actually a very good track record of looking at all of the moving parts holistically. And I think there are going to be some ways that we'll find opportunities to maybe move some things around financially. But obviously, this is a big project and a jewel, another jewel of Framingham. So I think we should probably wait and see what his recommendations are. And I would love a tour. It's been a while since I've been over there, so and we've been talking about it for a long time. But I think the community is anxious to support this investment. But I think rather than come to us and say, we need X more, I'd like to see what Mr. Paolini's thoughts are as he takes over that department as part of the reorg that we talked about. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Council Stephanie, then Council Malagany.
I don't agree with that assessment at all. The park is going to open middle of August. To hire the people that she's talking about, they need to go out and hire people immediately. To open this park without having people on board, the reorganization plan maybe gets approved from us in August, but it's on our agenda for a first hearing at our meeting tomorrow, and I have to assume that it's going to take more than one meeting to have a conversation about it, and the accompanying ordinance to implement it. So we will be opening the park without staff, which I think is not prudent at all. And the park director, which Allison is at this point, the interim park director, has the experience in parks. And Mr. Paolini is a wonderful man. he's not run parks before. He doesn't have a background in parks, he doesn't have an education in parks. That's not his forte. So what I'd like to see is, at least for us, to be prudent stewards of our assets and to have us protect a $40 million investment in what we all know is going to be a great park. I'd like to see the mayor's piece. One of the things I'd like to switch the conversation a little bit is one of the reasons we talked about all of the reserve funds and special funds that Brian gave us, the spreadsheet, is there is easily $2 or $3 million in funds in there that are not otherwise encumbered that may be available for this purpose, or would revert to free cash, which would make them available for this purpose. But I think that this is part of the reason why I pushed this along on the agenda, is because I think it is timely. An October solution to this opens this up, and we're going to have all kinds of issues that we could have avoided with a July or August decision. That's my only point. My point is about timing. The timing on this doesn't allow for all of that kind of, reorganization and collaboration for people to catch up to speed and figure out what to do. That's just not, I see them as completely different items. And I think there are some dollars in those accounts, but I'd leave that to the CFO to figure, and the mayor to figure out what are the appropriate uses of that.
So a quick follow-up, if I may?
Well, okay, follow up then, Council Malik, is her hand.
I think it's a little unfair on one point, because some people said the same thing, I think unfairly, about Ms. Elliott. Ms. Elliott came to Parks with a background in public works, and some people said, well, she doesn't have the background, and I think that was unfair at the time, and I think it's unfair to say the same thing about Mr. Paolini. Ultimately, it's the mayor's decision, and I have confidence because the community elected the mayor to make these decisions, and because Mr. Paolini has a demonstrable track record in solving complicated problems, and frankly, it's been a long time, probably too long, since we've done a deep dive into parks and how we do things and how we should do things tomorrow, not based on the way we did them yesterday. So I think there's a bit, and I agree with much of what you've said, but I think we should also wait to hear what the administration is proposing, where they're to thread this needle. I don't want to make a year-plus long decision based on something that's about to be reorganized. And yes, the interim director may have to move some things around, and the CFO may have to come to us piecing some things together in the short term for the weeks that we're talking about and kind of threading that needle. But I don't want to lock us into something based on much of what we don't know just yet. So
just to follow up to that, Mr. Chairman, I'll leave the discussion of the reorganization to another day.
Yep.
The point that I'm making, we're not talking about high-level positions here. We're talking about staff-level positions that don't exist for functions that need to be required, and they're not going away. So we either need to decide that we're going to, and the three options that the director suggested to us, one is do nothing and steal from Mary for Paul. Two, do a piece of the solution, or three, do the solution that the Park Commission directors and staff outlined almost a year ago as necessary for this. So the need isn't going away, and this isn't a high-level decision. This is a low-level staffing, which means these positions are going to take 30 days to fill. I see our Human Relations Director in the back. How long does it take us to onboard these kinds of positions once they're authorized? 30 days?
It takes that long to find them, yes.
So, I mean, we make a decision quickly, we're still talking about having Band-Aids to open and fill this. We make decisions that come in the fall, we're not talking about hiring someone until who knows when. My point was about timing, it wasn't about a debate of the reorganization.
Council Malik, I apologize.
Thank you. I have a question about so there was, and I apologize for not having the numbers in front of me, but there was an amount of money that was set aside for lifeguard staffing, and there were not that number of lifeguards who applied. So can I assume that there is some staffing money that within the department that's not currently being utilized, or is that not true? I don't remember how many staff seasonal staff were to be
Plenty of
hired.
information.
Whatever information, Council
That's the reason I put the next agenda item on the budget, on the agenda. Is $155,000 budgeted for beaches, and that's why I put item number 5 on the agenda, because I'm also interested in where that money is going, since we're not truly operating our beaches.
So do you want to kind of put them together and talk about them together? Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I mean, if we're not operating the beaches, the money would essentially be in the account and could be, I would say, repurposed or reallocated, but it isn't, it would sit there, and if we didn't spend it, it would return to close out to free cash at the end of the fiscal year, like any appropriation that we don't fully expend. So that would be part of the discussion that internally we need to continue to have.
And, Mr. Chairman, just a point to Ms. Malik's question. The 3 options that were outlined, the 6 staff person option is $359,355 based on park memo from earlier, and about half of that, $175,000, which is in the ballpark of what Mr. King just said.
There's millions in those other accounts.
Yep.
Okay. Are we all done up here, so I can go out to the, Councilor King, about the beaches?
Well, about several items here. First of all, I agree somewhat with Councilor Cannon. We are looking at reorganizing this department. My hope is it will be very quickly accomplished, because it is on the agenda next week. It doesn't require 2 votes. It could theoretically be accomplished next week. It's not, we've been talking about it for some time. It's an up or down vote. It's not an amendable vote. So I think that, I think it is likely to occur quicker rather than longer, but there's just no reason for it to be longer. It's either yes or no. But so, and given the fact we have a general idea internally where all our reorganizations are being recommended to go, is I certainly would hope that the people who are involved in those reorganizations are being consulted in these things. It doesn't make organizational sense that we have people in-house who are going to be taking over as the directors of these organizations that are not being consulted. So I'd assume they have been consulted. And if that's wrong, someone can correct me, but I can't imagine that would be wrong. So that's one thing. I do have questions about the beaches. I don't want to get off on that tangent. I mean, the money, for the most part, seems like it's not being used for beaches, so that might be some opportunity for this year for us to look as a way to fund. I agree, we do need to fund the situation down there, but I guess I prefer I leave my beach questions for now, probably, right, to the next agenda item.
Mr. Chairman?
Is that correct? You prefer I ask about the beach under a separate agenda item?
I think it has to do with this, and if we're going to do
I just
studies
feel we
of the
won't focus, because I mean, I wanted to talk about the beaches and some of the things we talked about I think I've seen a little bit of more information, but it's just confusing to me the way we're operating the beaches, whether the gates are open. I think maybe that has been resolved, but it seemed to go back and forth from our last meeting more than once. It makes no sense to me we wouldn't have them open, and I was interested in how much it was going to cost us to operate the beaches as in the manner that we are planning, with the proviso that at least the gates are open.
A few different comments. One, on the salaries, that funding is in a part-time salary line. So if we're talking about full-time salary for Mary Dennison, I think there may just be some accounting that we might have to discuss. That being said, yes, there's been some modifications. I think things have been clarified, and the beach gates, specifically at Learned, are opening by 10 a.m. and they're being closed at 7 p.m. Knowing that we changed the model for staffing this year, we did look at, with the heat wave and the holiday long weekend, that we would be able to utilize some of the funds intentioned for part-time staff to cover police details and cover some of the other operational ways that we're now doing this.
I don't understand that, actually.
So we had police details. That also comes out of how we,
How much did we spend on police details?
On July 4th weekend, get ready.
Sorry, I didn't go far. July 4th weekend, yeah.
Double time, $80 an hour.
4 hours.
8-hour, 4-hour minimum.
I mean, yeah, it's $200 an hour, so it's about, so they're eight,
How many is that, four police officers?
so it's, no, I think it's one detail. So one officer for
Double
one
time,
shift.
time and a half.
So we only did it for one day, though?
No, 2 days.
So we spent $200 an hour for how many hours?
Because 2 12-hour days, 24 hours.
So we spent $12,000 on details? I'm not sure that's right.
You added a zero.
24 times 200.
The mayor is shaking his head.
Yeah,
You'd think-
4,800. I was doing division.
I got to jump in. Here's my problem. The detail thing, it gets to me, because there's no reason a police officer that's on duty couldn't drive by there and check. And I was it's not even my district that I'm getting calls. I got friends that live on Warren Road.
So you remember, I'm still on.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But it blows my mind, that's all I'm gonna tell you, that we can't work together, and that we can't save money in different places. And I interrupted Councilor Kane, I'm gonna leave it at this. I got a call from my most active constituent that drives me, he's very thoughtful and engaged, Peter Pleshar, and I'll put his name out there. Furious how the community center looked. The grass was up to his kneecaps in some area. You know who I called? Jimmy Paolini. You know who he got the job done, okay? I didn't call Park and Rec, I didn't call the mayor, I called Paolini, and then I think he had to go to battle with you guys, and he got it done, because I know you guys eventually cut it.
Well, it's his
So,
building.
Well, all I'm gonna tell you is somebody had to cut the lawn, okay? So I got a big problem when departments can't help other departments. I see it with the school electrician, the city hall electrician. It just drives me crazy, and I swear, before I'm done up here someday, we're gonna get this thing straightened out once and for all, because there's no reason, we're the city of Framingham. That means we all need to work together. Councilor King.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, no
My
problem.
tangent. But Peter Plesher, at least he didn't have to call you guys, you and J-Lo.
I always like to hear from Mr.
I
Pleshaw.
know, think Councilor Cruz is in the parking lot.
So anyways, so how much of the $155,000 are we going to be spending? Is that the total funding for beaches?
The allocated part-time for beaches annually is the $155,000.
That's
If you
for
would like us-
salary or everything? Or is it all salary?
I mean, there's some incidental costs and supplies,
But
but
that's not in that line item?
no, but
Okay.
that's in that line. If you want us to run the numbers and get you what it will be, then we can do that.
Well, I guess I'd be interested for the broader discussion, but I'm just confused as to how this whole beach situation evolved. I understand you can't get lifeguards, which I'm not sure why. I mean, I know they're in short supply, and I know they have to have certifications and stuff like that. Other cities and towns seem to be able to get them. Do they pay more? I don't know. But if everybody's shaking their head, they don't pay more or they don't get them?
Both.
So you're telling me our surrounding towns don't have lifeguards either?
Some do, and some are able to get them, but it's not consistent, and it's a statewide issue.
No, I know I understand that, but I would think that even if we only could have them part-time like we did in the past, sometimes that might have been better, but I don't know how much we paid our lifeguards when we had them, but $200 an hour would have paid a few lifeguards very, very, very well. So if we decide to pay our lifeguards $40 an hour, I would suspect we'd get some lifeguards. But I understand the consistency model, though. I do understand that you can't have lifeguards some days and not other days. I do get that. But it did seem, even last year, that was pretty much the model last year, right? Some days they had lifeguards, some days they didn't. But it seemed like each of the beaches were staffed in the beach houses at least last year. So this year, we didn't even try to staff those positions?
We didn't have enough staff and applicants to be able to reliably do that either.
So how were we able to do that last year and we couldn't do it this year?
We had less applicants.
Did we recruit applicants or anything?
Sure did. Yeah.
Because it would seem like, if we can't have the lifeguards, which I do get, to have those beach houses open and trying to, would make it at least a little bit more pleasant of an experience. Because, opening the gates is great. Does Saxonville open from 10 to 7 too, by the way, the gates?
That gate is open,
From 10 to 7?
always.
Oh, is it all night long and everything? Oh. Has that always been the case?
Mm-hmm.
Why? The consistency of this, why?
Consistency, yes. That's operationally, there's not been overnight parking issues. There's not the loud music concerns. operationally, it's just not had the same level of concerns.
So Lana's the only beach that has a gate that keeps people out of the parking lot.
Correct.
We took it down in front at Washington,
Well, there's never a gate to the parking lot, I wish.
but we opened the gate up too.
No, I know that, I remember that, but there was never a gate to the parking lot. You could park and play your music on Washakem 20 years ago.
And they do, and the police take notice of it.
No, I agree. No, I agree. I agree with Councilor Vianney. That's what they should be doing.
That's what to be doing. Councilor Cannon.
Yeah, we're talking about consistency. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So why are we not, why are we doing something different? And I've only been in Framingham for about 20 years, so is it learned or learned? All right, see, this is the great debate. We'll get to that another night. But why are we shutting the gates only there at 7? Are people not allowed on that beach after 7? And where I'm going is the access to the handicap parking at that facility. So help me understand kind of that broader issue.
Sure. So we want to be as accessible as possible. We want to be as consistent as possible. The challenge we have is that in collaboration, working with public safety, we try and keep all the parks, they're dawn to dusk. We can close the gates at Saxonville at 7 as well. But at Larned, we're having challenges where that parking lot is configured differently, and there's a lot more activity that is not ideal for the neighborhood.
Okay, that doesn't answer my question about handicap parking, and I don't know how we're defining, is dusk sunset, which I think is after 8 o'clock tonight. So if it's dawn to dusk, if I have a handicap placard, where am I parking at Laundry Pond
That's
at 7:30?
So the handicap parking piece of it is, as the facilities open, we are only staffing in this to be able to clean it. This is not ideal. We would not prefer this model. We would prefer to have all the lifeguards. We would prefer to have a model that we had last year, to have the bathhouses open. We're not able to get staff to be able to do that. And so we're working to make the best we can. Accessibility, and to be clear, and our conversation the other day, I don't take that lightly. I'm not saying that we don't want to be accessible, but the park, we can only staff it in certain ways.
But why does a person with a handicap placard require different staffing than someone that doesn't require handicap parking? I don't understand your argument, and I recognize the challenges of recruiting, and I think one of the things that a reorganization will do is allow us to have outside voices and outside questions, look at, well, how the communities that are succeeding with these staffing issues, what are they doing differently? And I think Councilor King is right. We should probably move some money around and pay these people more. These are really valuable positions, but I have a really difficult time with knowing that we're discriminating against people that need a handicap placard to access one of our beaches, where we have other beaches that the gate is open 24/7. I get, and I take your sincerity in wanting to solve the issue, but we're choosing to not solve the issue. So I guess my question to you remains, at 7:30 p.m., when the sun is still shining, if I'm a person with a handicap placard, where do I park at Larned Pond?
Unfortunately, that's a challenge that we're all faced with right now.
So what's the answer to the question? There's no,
I'm sorry,
we're
I
choosing to, I think that's unacceptable. I think the gates, what we need to have happen is what seems to have been successful at Washakem. And since we're talking about accessibility, help me understand what's going on with the beach wheelchairs. Where does that stand? There was a big
Absolutely.
celebration. I remember Commissioner Karen Foran Dempsey working in the Disability Commission. It was a wonderful celebration for Framingham and a keystone achievement for the Disability Commission. I haven't heard a lot about those wheelchairs in a while.
Sure. So again, because we're changing our staffing model, our previous approach has been that when we have staff on site, that anyone who was requesting to use one of the wheelchairs would let staff know, and they would be available at the bathhouses. Because we don't have consistent staff at those locations, we looked at a different approach, and it included a liability waiver that we've asked legal to review.
When did we ask legal to review that?
I could get back to you on the dates.
No, but
exactly.
I don't need a date, but was it 6 months ago? I mean, was it during the winter? Did we give legal enough time in advance of the current beach season? And I mean, we announced these in like 2019 or 2021. Why the sudden need for, what is the waiver? What are we,
Well,
by using the beach, isn't it at your own risk anyway?
So the change for the waiver is that we don't have staff there to be able to provide access to the wheelchairs if someone needed it.
So where are they?
They're in the bathhouses. We keep them in storage.
So how would, if they're not staffed, how would someone get them anyway?
That's the point of the waiver.
I don't understand. What are we waiving?
So they would be
Isn't the
present.
bathhouse locked?
Yes.
Okay, so what,
Do you want me to run through it?
would you?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Doesn't Ms. Prue join you at the table? She's more than welcome to join you at the table. Instead of having the handy stuff.
I think she's asking to. I would find that of value too.
Okay, great. Come on up.
And anything you want to weigh in on, Ms. Prue, about the handicap parking situation? I am walking away, we're talking about a lot of complicated things with parks tonight, but I don't want us to, I want to underscore how deeply, deeply troubled I am by how we seem to be making accessibility a convenience rather than a priority in the foreground of everything we do. So however you want to weigh in on any of the things that we've talked about.
Absolutely appreciate that. There's a couple of things that I'm happy to talk to any of you offline in regards to salaries of what we pay and, sorry, what other cities are doing and how we've done our recruiting. I've been managing the beaches for 20 years in Framingham. I've been here for 20 years. This was my first, this is my biggest job when I got here. I don't take any of this lightly. I don't take any of what you guys are saying lightly. I don't take any of your concerns lightly. Leora and I spent a solid hour and a half on the phone one day trying to figure out how we can do these things. In regards to the handicap parking spots, Councilor Cannon, historically, it doesn't make it right. When our staff leaves the beaches, the gates get closed. If somebody shows up after that period of time and they want to access the facility, they would park on the street. Does it make it right? Absolutely not. Has it been brought to our, I mean, it doesn't make it right. That's the answer to your question. If they show up after 7, they park on the street and they can get themselves into the facility. There are plenty of facilities that don't have handicap parking spots, that don't have, in Framingham. So it doesn't, again, it doesn't make it right, but that's where we're at right now. We're trying to come up with a solution with public safety and figure out a way that we are all able to accommodate everybody.
Okay, I appreciate the candor in your answer, and it sounds like something we have struggled with for a long time, where I am doing my best to restrain the Irish in my personality, is not only does it not make it right, we're making decisions that are fundamentally wrong, and through the grace of God, this hasn't turned into something where someone would rightfully have, I mean, this is, I would imagine the Architectural Access Board would probably have something to say about this, because we have these facilities and we're depriving the use of them, and we're actively discriminating against those who jump through a lot of hoops for the legal right to be able to park there. Now, I don't know what the past was. I don't want to dwell on the past, but I think it is of critical importance that we solve this problem as quickly as possible. And I agree. I forgot that the reorg was coming before the council Tuesday, and I forgot that it didn't need a second vote. So I am hopeful that, and I'm very pleased with the mayor hiring an ADA coordinator. We've done some great things in our community with accessibility. I didn't realize what a frankly poor job we're doing with accessibility with our park and rec properties, and that's where we are. So I'm hopeful that we can solve this sooner as possible. Where I am still unclear is if I'm someone that wants to use one of the beach wheelchairs, what do I do? How do I know if it's available? There's a waiver, but there's not a waiver, it's with legal, what's going on there?
So we did have to reorganize. We did not know what our beaches were going to look like until late May, early June. So to answer your question, no, we did not give this to them 6 months ago. We didn't know the position we were going to be in right now 6 months ago. So when we figured out what our staffing was going to be like, we put together a new model. We have the chairs available. Anybody can request the use of the chairs. The new waiver comes in because prior to this year, we had staff on site to monitor the use of those chairs, to make sure that people were coming and taking them, using them properly, bringing them back to the bathhouse. They still had to sign a waiver to use them.
Yeah.
It just wasn't as an in-depth waiver as it is now, because there is no supervision to those chairs. So
Bottom line is, because that waiver doesn't exist today, nobody can use those beach chairs till we get that straightened out.
Well, they can, she said. They sign up for and get them out of the bathhouse.
No, but she says they gotta sign a waiver.
Yeah, but then they get them out of the bathhouse.
right, so when, if
But the
somebody
waiver's
wants,
at the city solicitor's office, and she hasn't gotten back to them. That's what we were told.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Isn't that what you told us? The waiver's at the city solicitor's office?
waiver is currently at the solicitor's
So
office,
let's
correct?
answer the question.
Sorry, you're not in use.
So, as of today, nobody can use those beach chairs until this waiver situation gets straightened out. Is that correct?
That's how I
Yes or no?
understand it, yes.
Okay.
Can I just
That-
follow?
Yeah, absolutely. And then
So, but once you get the waiver straightened out, how do they get into the beach house to get the wheelchairs?
Absolutely. So there is a process in place. Not only is the information going to be available on our site, we are also working with the library to get put into the library of things. So there is another venue for people to go to find these beach chairs. They would contact our office within 48 hours of when they would like to use the chair. We would make sure that the chair is at the appropriate beach at the appropriate time. That would be on the staff in order to do, and all of that information would be worked out.
Counselor Malik.
So I want to speak to closing the gate at Learned Pond, because in that neighborhood, it has to happen at 7 o'clock at night. That is something that has happened for the last couple of years. There's been issues of people being assaulted there. It can't, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago when they were left open at night? It's problematic in that neighborhood for the beach gates to be open. One of the things about, until dusk is that dusk changes, right? So to me, to close from 10 to 7, which it's been, I think, every year for, I don't know how many years, as long as I can remember, which is not 20 years, it's been 10 to 7, and I think the consistency of that, and I know it's difficult to kick people out at 7 o'clock. Often that's suddenly people do not understand English, and suddenly people won't, do whatever. I've definitely seen that tension, but for those reasons, in part, I do feel very strongly that the gate get closed. And I personally think that closing at 7 is much more consistent and much easier than who even knows what time dusk is. So again, being consistent with what has happened at that location, at least in the last couple of years, the 10 to 7 o'clock seems to work.
Anybody else up here before I go to Counselor Stephanie?
I'll defer to Mr.
No,
King.
no, it goes.
Oh, boy. Counselor Stephanie, and then Counselor King. How about that?
We have a lot to talk about in this area, and I just wanted to comment on timing. The reorganization plans that we went through with, the council's gone through in previous discussions have taken almost the full 60 days, because there are a lot of details. Is it going to cost more? What are the issues? So there's certainly a financial consequence. I would hope that we would refer it to the Finance Subcommittee. In addition to that, the charter clearly says that if there's an ordinance required as part of it, it needs to be submitted with it. There is an ordinance, Chapter 115, that gives specific authorities to the Director of Park and Recreation. I'd like to know, when we approve a reorganization, who is the Director of Parks and Recreation? What are they getting paid? who is authorizing the uses of our parks? And it is more than a little ironic that the person who's going to be in charge of parks can't cut the lawn in front of one of 3 or 4 buildings that he's in charge of. So I'm not picking on that person, but it is kind of ironic. Well, I didn't raise it. You raised it as a criticism of not being cut, and it turned.
I raised it.
He raised it as a criticism.
But
And
no,
what
I
I'm
made
saying-
one phone call and it got done, is what, it wasn't really a criticism, mine was a
But
compliment,
the person in
actually.
charge of it was the person who is going to be in charge of parks. That's ironic.
Okay.
So in any case, I would hope that we would have a full discussion, because we had these discussions during our budget conversation about the diminution in services in this area. And now we're criticizing what we agreed to. I think we have to be a little consistent ourselves. That's all.
Councilor King, you're next.
So I don't understand again. I'm having a lot of trouble tonight.
You, welcome back to me, I should have stayed home. This is more painful than the hip surgery, for crying out
I'm
loud.
not sure what services you're talking about that we have a diminution in, and what we talked about during the budget process.
They're beaches.
We knew there were issues, but I'm trying to recruit the last couple of years, but I think some of the operational decisions that were made were never discussed here. That's why the conversation came up at, I believe, our last city council meeting, and that's why I asked to have it put on here tonight. I thought it'd be a little bit less formal and a little bit, it's a friendlier environment, so to speak, than the full council meeting, and a little bit faster environment. But just so we can understand some of those things, because I mean, people, I say this all the time, it's true. Very few people contact me about anything, for what reason, I don't know, but that is the case. But I did hear a little bit about this from various people, and it's, so that's, we wanted to know about that. So, I mean, if this is our new reality, I think we have to look at the beach operations. I mean, how are we going to operate beaches going forward? Maybe we don't, I don't know. Any idea, I know it was going to be controversial no matter what it is. But I have another question about staffing. Do we employ someone as a beach director this year or only in the past?
We have always had a beach director.
Is that person still employed or not?
The person is employed.
Is it full-time or?
Originally, it was budgeted for 60 hours a week. 60.
60?
Yeah, 60. They used to work all week long and on the weekends. About 8 years ago, don't quote me on that, but about 8 years ago, we stopped being able to fill it full-time because people were not taking that position anymore. Currently, our beach director works between 12 and 20 hours a week because they have a full-time job and this is a side gig.
Well, what do they do since we don't run beaches?
So they will keep tabs on, specifically on the weekends, they will go and watch, make sure that the beach maintenance workers are doing what they're doing. They will close the gates at Larnard's at 7 o'clock. They will call PD when PD needs to be called. They rotate throughout the 3 beaches throughout the days.
I don't know who it is. I don't need to know who it is. But are they a full-time employee of the city or just
not.
totally somewhere else?
Totally somewhere else.
Just a part-time job. Okay.
Anybody else?
They have been working for the city since 2005, though.
As a beach director.
As either a lifeguard, they started as a lifeguard and they kind of worked their way up.
All right, we're going to go out to the general public. Let's go with 2 minutes apiece, because I don't know how many people are going to speak. 2 to 3 minutes. Councilor Grove, you're first. You raised your hand.
This microphone, this one's too.
Can you what? You can do whatever you like.
Hit the button.
We have a parallel situation to Mary Dennison that we can learn from. We gave money in a similar way to Arlington Street Playground. CPC gave money to the playground. What did I hear after that? No staff. They were druggies. They were breaking equipment. Nothing was working well. So I went there and I visited it, and it's working beautifully. I hate the fact that people spread information like that and make it universal. And the reason it's working is because they have volunteers there. Marianne Rosario, from Margie, from Hidden Gems. So when I was there, she told me that she has 450 people connected to that park in District 9. It's the densest neighborhood in Framingham, over 500 children, 12 school buses a day stop at that corner. When I was there, the children were having a ball. They were loving the splash pad, and they would like you to come and visit, Mayor. They remember when you came to the opening.
Well, the cookout.
Many mothers were present, and they asked me, why do people say this about our park? Why are they saying we're a drug haven? So I thought about it. It's ignorance, because people don't know it. They serve 75 lunches every day. The children were using the spray park, and they added some nets so they can play soccer in the basketball court. They thanked Councilor Bryan because she got them a trash can. And then she got them trash bags so they could keep it clean. There's no trash in that park. So now we're talking about a similar park that's much bigger, has more to offer. And what I want to propose is that we have stewardship of the park. She has become a steward for this park, and so have these other women. And I have here the benefits of stewardship. Tracy, could you give that to the members? So stewardship means the local people care about it, to each counselor. They don't work for the park, they don't have any authority, but these are the benefits of it. You'll receive a copy. They can help with the cleanup. I see the park opening like you're saying, and there's trash. We have already got a group. I set up a group for Keep Mary Dennison Beautiful. We have many people in the city who will help, but we want the local people to do it. We need to have ownership of this park by the neighborhood. So they can do that, which can decrease the cost of funding, because a lot of the funding is to keep the trash down. There's more community involvement. They have pride in the park. We're proud of the park. The neighborhood should say, I live near Mary Dennison Park. Number 3, health and involvement in stewardship can make them healthier, reduce stress, enhance mental well-being. This is a park with grass and hopefully other plants. They can learn from this park. There are educational opportunities to see how an ecosystem works. There's a creek going by this park. There's junkyards on the other side. There's railroad tracks. There's a program in Boston for park rangers for children. They will give tours of areas of Boston. There's a tour to be given of Mary Dennison. There's a story to tell about the factory across the street that polluted it and the city that cleaned it up. So those are benefits. And long-term sustainability. We have to keep the park in good shape because in the future it's going to cost us a lot of money. I have an apocryphal story for you. I've been getting phone calls from the skateboarders from other states who were the originals. They're in New York City and they're in Providence, Rhode Island. They are already talking about the skate park. They are talking to their friends in Framingham, and they said it's going to be one of the best skate parks in the region, and it's going to be better than Farm Pond. So I asked, this was Devin, how? He said, because it's a streetscape. That's what kids can do. Most of them, the other skate park is beyond them. They learn on a streetscape. So that's a very important feature of that. And they're all talking about the opening. They want to come to it. They want to skate on it. They want to be part of it. So then how do we set up a neighborhood stewardship? You can give each of them one of these. Thanks to my friend Ron Chick, I have all the directions for you. And so it includes the purpose, possible names for it, goals, and the first goal is cleanliness and beautification. That's one of the positions we're talking about. If you have a whole slew of people joining that organization, you can cut one of those positions. Community presence. When people are there, other people will be there. They will be watching over. There's no broken equipment at Arlington Street, all those stories they told. And when you see people there, you're going to be on better behavior. There are people, I said, why do you have somebody at 8 o'clock? And someone said, oh, that's when I want to go to the park. At 8 o'clock in the morning, I want to walk the park. And then Liz Caprillion is the best person to deal with this. She says you've got to talk to the parents. So you have chalk on the sidewalks and the parents are there. She says make kites at the park. You will bring the parents in. They will get involved. This is going to be the most positive thing that has happened to people in that neighborhood. And then it goes on, and reporting. You got a lot of eyes now. People are going to call, and they're going to say, oh, you know what, the kids are fooling around with that spray park, or the kids are putting graffiti on the skate park. They'll call. We don't want them to be enforcers. We don't want them to be snitches. We want them to be eyes in a positive way, that they have this attitude. You can get youth groups involved. I love the idea of the park rangers, that they could have badges. And then we have an elementary school right around the corner. What a place to learn. What a place for people to come and see nature when most of the kids haven't seen it. When I started this 13 years ago, I went to the apartments and, I got 700 signatures. I said to the kids, what do you do in the summertime? And they said, what do you mean? I said, what do you do for water? They were not allowed to have hoses. They were not allowed to have sprinklers. I brought an article, we brought Herb Chasen to town meeting for basketball or for a garden at Pelham Apartments, and one of the town meeting members said, if those people want things, why don't they get jobs? And then he said to me as I walked back to my seat, how would you like me to put a basketball court in your yard? I said, I live at 119 Cedar Street, you can come tomorrow. So that was the beginning of my saying, what are people thinking? Why is this so difficult for people to figure out? And, the benefit to the community economically, I talked to Councilor Ottaviani. He says, you can raise money. He knows how to raise money. What has he done for hoops and homework? Pelham Apartments is helping with that. These apartments are going to be getting even better rents because they're in that neighborhood. You need them to sponsor this park. There has to be a board that says sponsored by 222 Waverly Street. The restaurants are going to have business coming out their ears. Jack's Abbey is prime for it. So you have a board at the park that says park sponsors. Now, one thing I thought about were fees for events. And I looked it up, and you have liability if you charge people. You can ask for donations, though, and then you don't have to charge. Okay, the next part of this report is how to get started. It shows you who you need to do it. It tells you the first 90-day action plan. It's all here. And that's why this delay, let's discuss these little details. It seems so foolish to me. So that's what I have to say. We've got our first group for Keep Fairhaven Beautiful. If anyone wants to join, let me know. And I want to know what people would like to be involved on a volunteer basis for this park. And I think I've already got Liz.
She's all the way on the other side of town now.
All right.
She left District
So-
6 and came up to District 1, I think, or wherever she is.
Judy, you are amazing.
Great
So
job,
that's it.
Councilor Grove.
100%.
Before I call on the next speaker, we got one person on Zoom. It says Zoom user, so I need a name and an address, if possible, please, to allow you to speak.
Good evening, Kathy Hawk.
Oh, welcome, Kathy. You can speak.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening, Kathy Hawk. I'm Chair of the Framingham Park and Recs Commission, resident of District 3. I totally applaud Judy and all of her efforts. I think community engagement is totally awesome, and it's definitely a way to go, but we can't do it with the exclusion of funding for park staff. Well-maintained parks are not a luxury. They're essential. They're an essential public service. I respectfully ask the committee to provide funding necessary to ensure our newly renovated Mary Dennis Park is properly, fully staffed, so it remains safe, clean, welcoming, and well-maintained for everyone who uses it. Providing the total staffing needed to operate at Mary Dennis and demonstrates Framingham's commitment to enhancing quality of life by promoting healthy, active lifestyles, creating opportunities for residents, like Judy was speaking, of all ages to gather, to play, and to connect as a community. It's so, so important. And much to what Judy said also, parks are a smart investment. High-quality parks and recreation services strengthen neighborhoods, increase property values, attract new residences, businesses, and contribute to a vibrant local community. I respectfully urge you to support the funding request as Allison has reviewed, fund it fully so we can continue to provide high-quality parks and recreation services that our residents deserve and have come to expect. So that's as far as the park. One other little thought I have, as a swim mom is that maybe if we get a town pool or figure that out, we'd have some a future generation of lifeguards that then can turn around and guard the beach. Just a little thought on the side. But thank you for all you do for our city, to all the council, and to Allison and Elaine for all they do, trying to keep everything afloat.
Thank you, Kathy. Anybody else in the audience? Councilor Bryant? Yes. Yeah, but we have one problem that I'm not made of. There's 5 of us sitting up here. Are you leaving, Councilor Stephanie?
Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go to the bathroom.
I know, but that's okay.
You can't just leave the room and do it, because you can't do that. You can't rotate people.
Oh, yeah. Oh, take the mic and just tell us that. If you made,
I'm not sitting next to Allison. Okay. So what I would say is this, thank you, Judy, for.
Councilor Ryan, just put that on the record for us, because with you being present, there's 6 city
yes.
councils here, which is a quorum.
Okay, what I said is that I called the Ethics Commission today, and they said that generally, yes, I could speak at the meeting as a resident. Not as a counselor, obviously. There are gray areas, but given that it's Parks and Rec and it's in my district, or whatever, as a resident. So that's why I didn't, you don't have to call me counselor, don't call me counselor. At this point, I'm just Tracy Bryant from.
Tracy Bryant, resident from.
Resident, whatever, 40, 50 year, resident of District 9.
Councilor King, you have a comment?
Well, first of all, the Ethics Commission does not monitor the open meeting law.
What?
The Ethics Commission does not monitor the open meeting law. Did you ask for an opinion from the Attorney General's office?
Yeah, I called the number that was listed. I called and the woman she hooked me up with that. So I went on the Master website for it, and they did.
I mean, the 6 city councils debating an issue, that's a violation.
But I'm not here as a city councilor, and I don't give up my status as a resident of Framingham. I mean, just because I'm a counselor, being a counselor doesn't pay my taxes. It doesn't remove my right to vote as a citizen of Framingham or anything like that. And I could keep it short.
Unfortunately, when you become a counselor, you do remain a counselor 24/7.
Right, but no, because we had this discussion once with the superintendent. Even if you're on the school committee, if you have a child in the system, you go to meetings and you speak as a parent many times, right? You have, there's personal interactions or whatever that you have, so.
My only feeling about it is this issue is coming to the city council.
But it's not at the city council right now, it's just Parks and Rec.
I recognize that, Tracy, but we potentially could have an open meeting law violation by complaining by anybody, and why do we want to do?
But he left the room, too, so
that's not going to solve the
I think that it does. There's only 4 counselors up there right now while this issue's up there, and I'm not here in the capacity of a counselor. I mean, I'm a deacon, too.
All right, I think there is a gray area. I know where Councilor King is going with this. And he is right, it could be challenged. However, Council Stephanie has left the room. You're speaking as a resident.
Can be
I'll give you
challenged.
2 minutes.
Thank you. Just as a resident, I wanted to say that we are excited for District 9. We're very excited about Mary Dennison opening, but at the same time, no one who expects.
I'm sorry, point of order, Mr. Chairman. Out of an abundance of caution, and I agree with what's been said, but I believe you're also putting yourself in a position where you'd have to recuse yourself from discussion when it comes to the city council discussion. And I point this out, and forgive the interruption, it seems like an issue that you want to participate in, and I would value your inclusion before the full city council. So I don't want us to find out that perhaps you should have not spoken tonight, and in doing so have prevented yourself from being able to participate when this matter eventually does get to the full council. It's not my decision to make, but I'd hate to see that happen, because I think
I thought I could speak as a counselor representing the city then.
Every time this has come up since we've been a city, the 6 counselors debating anything that could come before us has been.
Okay, well then what I would ask then, I will yield, and I did call to ask the chair in advance, but then what I would ask is that the proposal that.
Ma'am, I would really urge you not to speak here, because I do think we're violating the open meeting law, and I don't that's a problem, but I don't want you to be in a position where you can't participate in discussion before the full city council on something that is so important to you, the community, and your district.
But
I would just, that's all I'm going to say.
I might be willing to give up my vote or something at the next meeting.
If that,
Well. Okay. But, so.
it's your call.
Okay, will
If
everything
I allow
then-
you to speak, no, but if I allow her to speak 2 minutes and then it gets brought up that she can't have to abstain, then that's what will happen. It's her decision. But I've allowed you 2 minutes. It's your call to decide.
One last thing, then I'll be quiet. Just so this doesn't become an issue every time, this has been an issue in the past, can we get an opinion on this too?
Yes.
Maybe there's some cutout provision that, and maybe you can have the name of the people that you spoke to so they can talk to the solicitor and we can work from there.
Nora, okay.
Don't do this.
Well, okay.
Do this.
But I'm not going to speak on the issue, but this is just a parliamentary thing then. So the materials that was given to the Finance Committee tonight, I would like a copy of all that too, and as a counselor, I think all the
Let Ms.
counselors
Kelly
need
send
to see
everything to
that.
everybody.
And I would ask that they make no recommendation on this and no action be taken until then we have the full.
The full
discussion.
council makes the ultimate decision. All we do is a finance subcommittee, we make a recommendation to the full council and the council votes it.
Right, but they were people were invited to join things that are not, yet in play. But, okay, so then all the stuff about
I'll take care of
staffing
it.
and everything.
I think the
we'll
less,
do.
yeah, less is.
Okay, well
less-
then,
I'll take care
I
of it.
expect to have a lot of time as a counselor at that meeting.
That's Mr. King's in
Because I have
charge
a lot
there,
of
so.
things to say.
You always have a lot of time, Tracy.
No.
Hey, he
Oh,
wants you in person, though.
We'll see you on Tuesday night here. It's going to be great to have you in
I'd love to see you
person.
here in person. We'll give you all the time you want on this.
Okay, don't make me have to bring people here.
Oh.
Don't make you what?
Have to bring people here. She's got people. Okay. Anybody else in the audience have anything? Yeah? You're up, Ms. Trachel. Yeah? Oh, another hand online. Thank you very much. Yep, thank you. Mary Ann?
Hi, Mary Ann Trachel, 20 Nipmuc Road.
Welcome.
I'm going to probably just respectfully disagree a tiny bit with my friend Judy. First of all, I'm going to start off just kind of reiterating what a lot of people said. Just please, let's hit the ground running correctly with Mary Dennison Park. Let's have the staffing that's needed to make sure that from the get-go, we've got the rules that are well established and the community members that are coming in to use this park understand what is proper and improper use. And that's coming from somebody who has done multiple cleanups and the old version of it, where you've gone in and you've seen the way that people have disrespected and pushed the boundaries of the old park. So let's just make sure that we've got this going in, and people that are coming in from the start and they're trying to push those boundaries, they understand this is no longer going to be tolerated, I don't want to be picking up any more beer bottles and other things that I found in that park in the past. And I agree with community involvement, as Judy said. Just in this, I'm going to refer a little bit over to Arlington Street Park, which I disagree. At the very beginning, when we were cleaning up that park, I would find needles. I would find beer bottles. I know a neighbor that has found people sleeping in the big giant slide. That was what we funded through CPC. Those problems have, I think, calmed down considerably because due to community oversight, people keeping their eyes on the park, that I think the camera that was installed there also does help. But that's another reason why I'm kind of like seeing, we don't want to get down the road of misuse of Mary Dennison. We want this to be a safe place for community members, for sports clubs to be using it safely in an organized manner, and nobody fighting over, I've got the field reserved for today, and somebody else saying, but I intended in using it, and I don't know how this whole system works. And just to also kind of wrap up for community involvement, I think one of the successes we're having right now with Washaken Pond, taking down that fence has changed the whole vibe of our neighborhood. We don't go to that park thinking it looks like a sketchy area. It's a welcoming area. I've seen people out there painting. I've seen people out there picnicking. I've seen a whole bunch of more people coming in, using it, swimming, sunbathing, people I haven't seen before. So the one way I think we're keeping a good handle on the situation is, again, also community oversight. I'll admit, I called last night at 10:30. I saw a bunch of kids on the dock playing music and jumping and playing in the water. And I called and I said, This is an unsafe situation. It is 10:30 at night. They are kids. They are unsupervised. Please, come out. I don't know if the police came out in a really timely manner, but the problem was monitored and reported so that the police department does know that they need to be keeping an eye on it. So again, I just thank you for listening to me. And again, let's get this Mary Dennison Park off to a great start, okay? Thank you.
Much more, right. We're going to go people that haven't spoken, and we got to wrap it up pretty soon, folks, just because we're way over. On Zoom, Margie, 2 minutes.
Hi, thank you all. This is Margie. I'm over at Gems at the Arts on 160 Hollis Street in Framingham, the nonprofit.
Yep.
We do arts enrichment and community. I'm calling into this meeting because I got the opportunity to speak to Judy. And so I was not in the preview that the work that we have been doing in these spaces haven't been seen by this body. So I wanted to highlight that I do take accountability that I did not know that Judy didn't know what we were doing. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about flipping the script. We were at Mary Dennison before this new, transition. We were hosting events there regularly every year. We were having 2,000 participants coming into our back to school extrav. And we were using the space and we were showcasing what that space can be. So yes, I understand some of those narratives that have been shared of the negatives of like 1 or 2 instances here and there. But I also want to highlight the good that happens in these environments. And then, yes, I do want to advocate for staffing to increase the sustainability of that positive narrative that I want to highlight in this space today. I do agree that it's an ecosystem within supports of the parks, within supports of the nonprofit and community members. And I also want to highlight that this timeline of involvement, I've met Judy when she was canvassing, doing that work. Nobody knew who I was, but I was out there too. And so those things, the grassroots, the silent, the unspoken, are all things that I want to bring to the forefront in this space. Yes, we need a fully funded staff for that park, but not as a reaction to the negative narrative of that space, but to the positivity that this community brings every day in those environments. So that's all I wanted to share today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Caprillion. People that haven't spoken. Ms. Caprillion. Liz. All the way from Knobscott now.
Am I on? Okay. Hi, Liz Caprillion, 707 Water Street. So I think a lot of people know me from Friends of Washacom Beach, and I would say that the idea of a community engagement group can be really helpful, right? But there's also, at Washacom, there's also Coburnville Tripoli Neighborhood Association, which is there long before Friends of Washacom Beach came along. And of course, they also have the Washacom Pond Association. So you can see 3 very different groups are collaborating on that, and also working with conservation and also with parks. So I would say, when it came to staffing, that was something we were always trying to get more of at Washacom Beach. And it's been a challenge all along. And Parks has been very nimble and very receptive to trying flexible approaches to try and give as much amenity as they can. But I think the conversations have happened on other projects where the city is evolving and creating new modern amenities and situations like Mary Dennison, and there doesn't seem to be the same matchup on the staffing. So I know, we're already talking about a new splash pad coming for Cushing Park, and even in the design discussions with that, the whole staffing issue was raised. How can you have this beautiful new envisioned water park, basically, without a staffing being associated with it? And it seems to get very detached. Even the Children's Grove, which is now celebrating at Cushing its 12-year anniversary or something, right? It's got pieces that are broken in it. There's no staff necessarily assigned to the overall welfare of Cushing Park, which now has very different amenities in it. So I think, yes, out of the gate, Mary Dennison needs to have staffing, and I think it needs to be a more strategic vision by the city on staffing long-term for our large park systems. The community gardens are going to start coming online as well. So those are going to be in our public spaces. So when you think that that might end up at Bates, what's the plan? Well, there'll be a gardening group that's looking at it, but it may need some slice of Parks time to make sure that that amenity for our city is working well. So I think the strategic view for the city when it comes to staffing, it's not just the lifeguard problem. I think it's for all of these pieces that Parks needs to get the staff that they've been asking for. I think every year they come up, and every year it kind of gets cut down. But they're adding more and more pieces to the puzzle and the complexity there. So I would urge for the money to be found to let Mary Dennison come out of the gate strong, and then they'll let the community engagement groups build around it as well. So that's my 2 cents on that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Liz. Ron Chick.
Having taught at the Woodrow Wilson School for, 24 years, I know the area well, at least 20, 30 years ago. And the density of the population there and the children that are there, this park is going to be an amazing resource for them. It's expansive, it has a lot of quality attributes, and it's going to be critically important for proper staffing. The community component is to get the whole community, the neighborhoods involved with oversight and investing in the park. And I think that's another layer above and beyond the effective staffing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chick. Yes.
Hi, my name is Dave Gadeko, Division 1, Park and Rec, Division Park and Rec Commissioner for I don't know how many years. I just want to go and...
Too many to remember, right?
Yep, yeah. I just want to, first off, I'll thank everybody for their volunteering up here. I mean, it's not an easy job to come up and deal with all this stuff. And I'm here also to support Park and Rec. We want to make sure that we get the staffing that's necessary to move forward. I just want to point out something. You know, the mayor put a budget together and you guys approved it, and you removed the director. And to be beating these people up, asking them questions about things that were directors' problems. You know, Allison is a tremendous project manager. You mentioned she came from DPW. That's correct. But she's been phenomenal in her job. And Elaine, the same thing. So they're employees of this city, and they deserve to be respected as such. You know, the beaches, there's a lot of problems, and they just didn't happen yesterday. And replacing management, we're going to see how that works. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilor King.
So I appreciate the sentiment, but at the same point, I'm not sure what you're referring to. I know I had some questions to ask the staff tonight. I think that thinking back on it, we asked respectful questions. I understand. I mean, I believe that I could be wrong about this, but I didn't see it, but I believe someone told me this. I believe Allison is the acting director, in fairness.
Yeah,
And I hope that she's being compensated as the acting director. I have no idea on that, but I hope she is. So, and I would suspect she is.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think, you know, as city councilors, we do have a responsibility for budgets, and the only people we can ask is our staff. And things like the beach are very public-facing, very emotional to people, things that they participate in. So, as elected officials, I think to ask respectful questions about how things cost, why decisions are made, I think that's important for us to do that to represent our constituents. And I do think it's a little unfair, I don't think you meant to be, to suggest that they were getting beat up. That's not what
Well, it was a poor use of words. I didn't mean it to point, you know, I appreciate, as I said,
I
all the
appreciate
time
you
that
said
you
that.
put up
Right,
here.
right.
You know, the funny part is, I know how that gate came down at the beaches. It happened under the former mayor, it happened during COVID, you know. These things all have
But
history.
I also think, and last thing I'll say is, and I don't, again, I won't say it, actually.
I can remember when we do the Park and Rec budgets, I want to say, I think Allison did most of the presenting, to be honest with you, and I used to always comment that she does a great job.
That's along the lines of what I was going to say.
She used to do all the talking. Councilor Cannon.
Only to say, I'm disappointed that a member of a Parks and Recreation Committee would look to the discussion about our parks as beating up on staff. I think the more opportunity we have as a community and the elected leaders in the community to talk about what we're doing and how we're serving the community through our parks and recreation assets is a positive thing. And if you took my asking about what we're doing in terms of accessibility, and I asked some pressing questions there because we not only have federal law, but we should have a deep conscience of making sure that we're making accessibility something in the foreground of what we're doing. If that's beating up, okay, guilty as charged. But I would hope that as a member of our Parks and Recreation Commission, you would look to members of the City Council having the opportunity to dialogue with our staff about our park assets is something positive. So I'm disappointed by your comments. I'll take you at your word that they weren't intended as the way that at least I took them. And I pointed to Ms. Elliott's experience in DPW as a positive, as an example of someone from a different background was thrown into a new opportunity, and that seemed to be successful. So that wasn't a slight against anybody, that was a positive. So I appreciate you clarifying the intention, and that's, I'll leave it at there, and we could probably have a motion to adjourn.
Just briefly.
Council Stephanie, then Council King.
Very quick point. I think what Dave was trying to say, and what I hear a lot when I listen to these meetings, is not what you say, it's how you say it. So if you want to go back and maybe listen to how words are being said, it's tone, it's not the way you're asking. And all due respect, you all have very hard jobs. 100%. I couldn't do what you do. I couldn't.
I will ask at the next Parks and Recreation Commission meeting that you make first on your agenda the commitment to accessibility and compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, recognize the failures that the division has made up until this point, and what the recommendations of the commission are going to be to address them.
Okay.
So I think there's opportunity there.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate
Council
it.
Stephanie.
Thank you. I'd like to get it so we could wrap this up. The mayor, getting back to the topic at hand here, which is dealing with the pedestrian issue of staffing. The mayor has indicated that he needs a little bit of time. He's going to come back to us at our next meeting with a staffing, a recommendation of some sort. I would like to recommend that the Finance Committee meet at 6:30 on next Tuesday, and that if the matter is...
Executive session is 6.
So we meet at 5:30. So that if the mayor refers this to the council, it can be put on the council agenda. The chair of the council can refer it to the Finance Committee, and we can take and have a Finance Committee vote on the mayor's recommendation, which I don't think will take more than a few minutes, which we've done before, so that when the council meets, because we only meet once in July and August, so...
Well, we could potentially have a special meeting.
We could, but, I mean, assuming that, I don't have the same assumptions you do. I assume that the reorg is going to have to go to finance and go to...
All the more reason why I have to have a special meeting, because I don't think we should keep the reorg out for our summer schedule.
But I do think it takes more than, to redraft the ordinance and the authority and the budget and all of the details which are important to be thrashed out. I think the charter gives us 60 days because it's important for us to thrash those things out. Anyways, that aside, on this issue, I think a 5-minute Finance Committee meeting before the meeting would enable us to vote on the staffing and then bring it back to another meeting, whether it's a special meeting or an August meeting, so that the mayor has the resources to be able to go forward in a timely fashion. That's all.
Council King.
We don't need to beat it anymore, but I do think that, what I was going to say, what I didn't say before, is I think that Park and Rec can bring an awful lot of value to the community, and I think it does bring a lot of value to the community. And I like the fact when we invest in parks, I mean, this one, we appreciate Judy's efforts and everything, and we certainly had to invest in this park for reasons beyond even the local efforts, so all that came together. I think other park projects that we have done have been really, really good. I say this all the time. I abut a lesser-used park, but I mean, it's kept in good shape, and I appreciate that as an abutter. I think that, and this is not something that anybody's going to be surprised, because you've heard me say this to the former director, that some of the things haven't moved as quickly and as efficiently, as effectively at Parks and Recreation as they could have. And I think we've had those types of discussions too. And I hope that's what we can do going forward. That's why I'm encouraged quite a bit by the mayor's reorganization, and I believe it will end up bringing us to that position. And I look forward to that.
Okay.
You want a motion to adjourn?
Councilor Grove.
I just wanted to say, I wasn't saying no staff. I was
know
just
that.
saying,
I know that.
maybe we can go with option 2 instead of option 1, if that's a problem.
We appreciate the
appreciate that.
clarification. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Got a motion to adjourn by Counsel King, a second by Counsel Cannon. All those in favor say aye. I voted 5-0. Thank you.